Ramadan is a month of fasting and prayer. It brings us closer to Allah and each other. It brings us closer to Allah and each other.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen Amma ba'd fa'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah وَعَلَىٰ آلِكَ وَأَصْحَابِكَ يَا نُورَ اللَّهِ. The Prophet of mankind, the peace of our heart and mind, the most generous and kind, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, has stated, whoever likes this thing, that Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with him, when he is presented in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal, should recite salat upon me in abundance. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal, my dear viewers, in this beautiful silsila of the blessings of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah Azza wa Jal, in the previous episode, I discussed about the blessings of the fast of Sha'ban. And inshallah Azza wa Jal, in this episode, I shall discuss about the parables about fasting people. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Holy Quran, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Translation from Kanzul Iman, Surah Yusuf, verse 111. No doubt, the eyes of the wise men are opened by their tidings, stories. Let's listen to some of the parables of the fasting people. Number 1. Once during the journey to Hajj, Hajjaj bin Yusuf stopped at a place between Makkatul Mukarramah and Madinatul Munawwarah and had the lunch prepared. He then instructed his guard to bring a guest. The guard came out of the tent and saw a Bedouin lying on the ground. Wakening him up, the guard said, "Come, Hajjaj bin Yusuf is calling you." When the Bedouin came, Hajjaj bin Yusuf said, "Accept my invitation, wash your hands and sit down to eat with me." The Bedouin replied, "I am sorry. I have already accepted the invitation of someone else who is more generous and gracious than you." Hajjaj bin Yusuf asked, "Whose invitation?" The Bedouin replied, "The invitation of Allah Azza wa Jal, who has invited me to keep a fast, and hence I have fasted today." Hajjaj asked, "You have fasted in such scorching heat?" The Bedouin replied, "Yes, in order to save myself from the blazing heat of the judgment day." Hajjaj said, "Please eat now and make up for the fast tomorrow." The Bedouin immediately replied, "Can you guarantee me that I will remain alive till tomorrow?" Hajjaj replied, "I'm afraid I can't." The pious Bedouin said, "I'm afraid I can't eat with you." Saying this, he then left Hajjaj behind. May Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy on him and forgive us with our accountability for his sake. My dear viewers, the pious servants of Allah Azza wa Jal aren't afraid of even kings and rulers. We have also learned that those who observe fast bearing heat will be protected from the intense and scorching heat of the judgment day, inshaAllah Azza wa Jal. Number 2. A pious person, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, saw Satan stand in worry by a masjid door and asked, "What's the matter with you?" Satan replied, "Look inside." When the pious person looked inside, he saw a person of a salah and another person sleeping by the masjid door. Satan said, "I want to enter the masjid to distract the people offering salah by putting evil thoughts in his heart. But the man sleeping by the door is a fasting person. When he breathes out, his breath prevents me from entering like a flame of fire." My dear viewers, in order to be protected from the attacks of Satan, fasting is a strong protective shield. Even though the fasting person is asleep, his breath is a sword against Satan. We have learned that Satan is extremely afraid of the fasting person, as Satan is captured, chained, and imprisoned during Ramadan. He gets into trouble whenever he sees a fasting person. Number 3. A blessed companion, radiallahu ta'ala an, presented himself before beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, in the state of fast in Ramadan, I purposely had intercourse with my wife. I am ruined. What should I do? The Prophet of Rahmah, the intercessor of Ummah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam asked, can you free a slave? He radiallahu ta'ala an politely replied, I'm afraid I can't. Oh, the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam asked, can you fast consecutively for 2 months? The blessed companion replied, O the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, I'm afraid I won't be able to do so. He sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam asked, can you feed 60 miskeen people? Again, he politely replied in the negative. Meanwhile, someone gifted some dates in the call to the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Giving all those dates to that companion, the beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, give it as charity. Your expiation will be paid. He radiallahu ta'ala and replied, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, I am the poorest person in Madinatul Munawwara. The noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam smiled until his molars appeared and said, فَأَطْعِمْهُ أَهْلَكَ, feed it to your family. Your expiation will be paid. May Allah Azza wa Jalla have mercy on them and forgive us without accountability for their sake. My dear viewers, if the blessed companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum ever made any mistake due to human nature, they would immediately compensate for it. Moreover, they would also present themselves before the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam for its forgiveness and expiation. They truly believed that the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal lies in the pleasure of His beloved Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. This narration also makes it clear that the blessed companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum firmly believed that the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam possesses immense divinely given authority, and that Sharia is the other name of his sayings. This is why the beloved and blessed Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam offered different forms of expiations to that companion by asking him if he could free a slave, or if he was able to fast consecutively for 60 days, or if he was able to feed 60 miskeen people. And the companion kept on replying, no, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. In other words, that companion firmly believed that if the beloved and blessed Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam had wanted, he could have told any fourth method of expiation other than the first 3 ones. The noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam also affirmed to his authority, saying that the expiation that I'll impose upon you is to give these dates. When the companion expressed his personal need, saying that no one in Madinatul Munawwara was poorer than him, the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam ordered him to take the dates and feed them to his family. His expiation will be paid. The general ruling of expiation for deliberately breaking a fast of Ramadan is to free a slave, provided the conditions of expiation are met. If this is not possible, then to fast successively for 60 days. If this isn't possible either, then to feed 60 poor people. But the expiation that was imposed upon the blessed companion was not to give and do all of those things, but to take and spend upon his own family instead of spending upon anybody else. This is the supreme court of refuge for the helpless and destitute. Number 4. Mother of the believers, Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha, was immensely generous and benevolent. Sayyidina Urwa bin Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu has stated he saw that the mother of the believers radiallahu ta'ala anha donated and distributed 70,000 dirhams for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, whereas there were patches on her clothes. Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu sent 100,000 dirhams to her, but she distributed the entire money in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal in a day. She had fast that day. At evening, her maid said, "Wouldn't it be better if we had just kept just 1 dirham for bread?" She replied, "This thought didn't come across my mind. If it had come into my mind, I would have saved." May Allah Azza wa Jal have mercy on her and forgive us without any accountability for her sake. My dear viewers, despite possessing huge amounts of wealth, the mother of believers, Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha, led a very simple, pious and noble life. Whenever wealth or money was presented to her, she radiallahu ta'ala anha donated and distributed all of it in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. Even when she received 100,000 dirhams, she radiallahu ta'ala anha donated the entire amount for virtuous causes. She radiallahu ta'ala anha did not keep money to buy food even for iftar. On the other hand, if we observe our single nafil fast, we want various types of foods such as fried items, cold drinks, etc. We should also follow in the footsteps of the mother of all believers, Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha. We should not love wealth and monetary possessions to the extent that we begin to hesitate spending it in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal and for righteous causes. To remain associated with the Madani environment of Dawat Islami is extremely useful for getting rid of the love of the world and for having betterment in the afterlife. Whenever any Madani Qafila of Dawat Islami arrives in your area, do adopt their company, because even just looking at the travelers of the path of Allah Azza wa Jal with good intentions is a good deed, and their companionship will lead you to heaven. Let me tell you the story of a spoiled young man whose life was transformed just by looking at a devotee of Rasul. An Islamic brother from Qusur city, Punjab, Pakistan, gave the following account. I was a matriculation student at that time. Due to evil company, I was wasting my life in sins, indecency and wrongdoings. I was temperamental, rude and ill-mannered to the extent that I misbehaved with my parents and even my grandparents. One day, a Madani Qafila of Dawat Islami, a global and non-political movement for the propagation of Quran and Sunnah, arrived at our local masjid. I went to visit the devotees of Rasul, making individual effort. An Islamic brother dressed in white clothes with a green turban on his head politely invited me to attend the dars. Hence I sat down and began listening to the dars. After the dars, they told me that the 3-day Sunnah-inspiring global ijtima of Dawat Islami was going to be held in Madinatul Awliya, Multan, after a couple of days. They invited me to attend the global ijtima, impressed by their dars, which had a great positive effect on me. I couldn't refuse, so I participated in the ijtima. I was surprised to see the blessings of the ijtima. The last speech, the perils of music, had an overwhelming effect on me, causing tears to fall from my eyes. I repented of my sins and joined the Madani environment of Dawat Islami. My family took a sigh of relief to see this positive change in me with the blessings of Dawat Islami. My elder brother also grew a beard and adorned his head with a turban because he was immensely impressed to see a sudden Madani change in an extremely bad-mannered person. I have a sister who has also started wearing a Madani burqa. Alhamdulillah Azza all of my family members have got the privilege of doing bay'at in the Qadiriyya Razawiyya Uda, becoming the disciples of Ghawsi Azam radiyallahu ta'ala an. By the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal, I have learned the Holy Quran by heart and have enrolled on the Dars-i-Nizami course. At the time of writing this account, I'm in the second year of my course. I'm also making efforts as the responsible of the Islami's Madani Qafila in our area. I have intended to travel with the Madani Qafila for 12 months in Sha'ban, inshaAllah Azza wa Jal. Number 5. Once Sayyidina Sari Saqati rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh had a fast. He placed a goblet of water inside the wu's recess so that the water would get cool. After the Asr Salah, while he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh was engrossed in meditation, heavenly maidens began to visit him. He rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh would ask each maiden as to who she was for, and she would tell the name of a devoted servant of Allah Azza wa Jal. Then another one came. He rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh asked the same. She replied, I am for the one who whilst fasting doesn't place water to cool. Listening to this, he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh said, if you're right, then drop this goblet. So she dropped the goblet, whose sound awoke the meditating saint. When he rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh saw the goblet, it was broken into pieces. But dear viewers, in order to attain the everlasting blessings and pleasures of the hereafter, one has to subdue and control his nafs, staying away from worldly desires and pleasures. The awliya of Allah Azza wa Jal battled against their carnal desires. Once in an extremely hot day, a pious person saw someone carry ice. He desired, if only I had money to buy ice and enjoy a cold drink. Instantly, he felt ashamed and said to himself, why did I listen to the trick of my nafs? He then promised never to drink cold water. Hence, even in hot summer days, he always heated the water before drinking it. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla that He gives us all the ability that we are able to fast just like how the awliya rahimahumullah ta'ala did. Ameen bijahin nabil ameen sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sallu ala al-habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
Ramadan is a month of fasting and prayer. It brings us closer to Allah and each other. It brings us closer to Allah and each other.